Hi, welcome to update number 24 on the Lackawanna Cutoff, where we're going to be talking about 2025. Hi, I'm Chuck Walsh, and we're here at the Delaware River Viaduct on a windy day in what is late winter. We're going to be talking about the New Jersey Transit project to Andover, the Amtrak project from New York City to Scranton, but we're also going to talk about politics. And I know I've gotten comments, particularly recently, but over the number of years about, oh, you talk about too much about politics. Well, one of my favorite sayings is that the bigger the funding you're looking for, the bigger the politics are. And that's always been the case. I'm actually starting now my 40th year involved with this particular project. The only person I know of who's actually been involved with the Lackawanna Cutoff project longer is Dominic Keating. And he goes back to the days of the 1979 Amtrak run, which will show you a photo of that train being right on this viaduct. But once again, politics has always been a part of this project. And I also want to talk about anniversaries in a sense. This is the beginning of the 10th calendar year that Larissa and I have been doing these videos. So that's been going on for a while as well. But in terms of the politics which are playing out now in Washington, it's quite relevant to the two projects. And while I don't want to necessarily go on and on about that, I'll just say that it's creating a lot of uncertainty. And I think that's putting it very mildly. So, quickly we'll talk about New Jersey Transit's project to Andover, particularly Roosevelt Tunnel. We covered that in a couple of recent videos, so I don't think there's really too much more to add to that because there really hasn't been all that much more activity. It's been cold. I was just in Andover about a week or so ago before doing this video, and things are frozen solid, or at least at that point were. So it was really preventing a lot of, I'll say, finishing up of the project. So I can't give you a time frame on Roosevelt Tunnel with the communications tower overhead finishing up, but that work isn't really going to affect the overall time frame. Now the thing is with Andover that New Jersey Transit has been saying 2026, 2027, beginning of 27 for start of service to Andover. This coming year, not this winter, but next winter, they're going to have to do the clearing if they're going to make that particular time frame. We'll see. So that's New Jersey Transit. Now we want to talk about New York to Scranton, and I have a report here that was submitted to the Federal Railroad Administration back in March of 2023, which was really the beginning of the process to get to the point where hopefully we can get the big funding and basically return service, passenger service to Scranton. Now I just want to review the process quickly because it'll give you context of how that particular project has evolved, and actually there's been more stuff that's happened even since our last video. So I call it basically a 6-step process. FRA only has 3 steps, but I have 6. And I'll show you a bunch of arrows which they've provided the FRA, and I've numbered them because they've actually created different steps, even though they don't call it steps. Anyway, so step 0, the application phase. That took place, and this went in with, this is Amtrak's study of this corridor. This went in with, I'll call it step 0, the application, in March of 2023. Now, there were a total of 95 corridors that applied at that point, each of which had some kind of applicant involved. At the end of 2023, that number was whittled down to 69, including Scranton. Now, I should add that all of this is possible, not just because of the FRA, but because of Congress passing a $16 billion appropriation for what they call the Corridor ID program under FRA. And that goes back to the IIJA back in 2021, which was a $1 trillion appropriation. But specific to this project, in December of 2023, it goes into step one, which is basically the forming of a project team. They initially get $500,000, so that's 69. Now, that team, by the way, and I've mentioned this before, this is a refresher, that team was comprised of PennDOT, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, New Jersey Transit on this side, the Pennsylvania Northeast Regional Railroad Authority, New Jersey DOT, which owns this right-of-way, or, in Pennsylvania, the rail authority actually owns this part of the cutoff. And then Amtrak is a consultant to that whole process. So that's step one. Step two was just entered into in December of 2024 for Scranton service. Now we go from 95 to 69 to 6. So now we're down to 6 right now, which have been promoted either into step 2 or to step 3. We'll talk about step 3 in a moment. The Texas high-speed rail project has gone into step 3. There are other 5, including Scranton, New York City service, are in step 2. Now, step 2, you get money as well. In step 1, you got $500,000, but there was no match. In other words, where the states have to basically contribute some money in addition to what the federal government would give you. In step 1, it's a 90-10 breakdown. So in other words, the feds provide 90% of the funding and the states have to provide 10%. For Scranton, that was just a little bit under $5 million total. So it was $4.91 million to do what is called a service development plan, which this will go into. There's a key part of that service development plan is contained in this Amtrak analysis, which took place over 2 years, as a matter of fact. And that isn't the only money that the Scranton people have been able to get. They have construction money, which you can't see it from here, but Slateford Road Bridge, the overpass, was filled in back in 1990. I say the bridge was there, was taken out and filled in with dirt. That has to be removed and another bridge put in to replace that. So back in October of 2024, PennDOT got $9 million from the federal government to do that work, plus upgrading the trackage, the 60 miles in Pennsylvania, to Amtrak standards, plus grade crossings and such. So that money comes from the federal government. Now, getting back to the politics of the situation, the good news about the $4.91 million that was gotten for step 2, that's safe money. In other words, that's there. The $9 million, which is actually part of like $20 million, which is cobbled from different sources, some of that may be at risk. We don't know. Things are such that right now it's difficult to say from day to day what's safe and what isn't. I have friends who have jobs that are on the line. Of course, there are literally tens of thousands of projects that are on the line. Can't say. But at least at this point, the service development plan, which, and once again, this is the only project that got an analysis from Amtrak. There are actually 2 unique aspects of the Scranton, New York City corridor. It's the only one, save one, the Ronkonkoma extension of Amtrak in New York to Long Island, is the only route which is all publicly owned. Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, DOT, New Jersey DOT, the Rail Authority, and there's a short section in Scranton that's owned by the National Park Service with Steamtown, but it's all publicly owned right of way. So that's a big plus where you don't have to deal with railroads like Norfolk Southern or CSX, which may see this as a problem or something that would be a conflict to their operations. None of that exists. Yes, Delaware Lackawanna will be running freights and has been running freights over there, but that's a different situation. They're a friendly entity, and they're more than cooperative with this situation. So people have asked, well, how long until we get into step 3, meaning this Scranton project? Don't know. FRA says you got until 2028. When I hear that probably can be done a lot faster than 2028. And when you get into step 3, you talk about design work, final design. What I call step 4 brings you into where you actually do construction. And then step 5, you run trains. So it sounds very straightforward, but a lot of work still to be done. And yes, politics to somehow be maneuvered through and around and whatever. So that's update number 24, brings you up to date at least at this point in 2025. I'm sure we're going to need to talk a lot more as we go through this year. Going to be, well, once again, a lot of uncertainty to deal with, but at least at this point, that's where we are. So thank you for watching. Hope you look forward to update number 25 on the Lackawanna Cutoff.